What up, people? This is your boy Gerald. It is Friday, April 29th, 2016. Where has the month gone? But more importantly, how are you doing? That's right, y'all. We are literally on the back side of April. And for those who have children and have your babies out being educated, the end of the school year is right upon us. Hmm. So how is everybody doing? I hope that your week has gone well. You have sidestepped the negative, grounding your feet, speaking your truth, and as always, placing God first in everything you do. Because see, I'm going to keep echoing until the last breath is taken. Your life matters, your life is priceless, and your legacy is blessed. But we must all do our part. We must all cultivate our steps. We must all see our work. I want to first start off and give shout outs to you, my family, and this meaning my channel. My channel is growing. Each seed, each prayer, and I'm a firm believer that the intended heart, intended mind, the love and positivity, the prayers that I put out will reach the intended heart and mind. Because see, it's all about your legacy, and you deserve to be happy wherever you are. That is why it's so important that you place God first in everything that you do. But I'm gonna put a little spin on this one because I love hearing from you guys. I love your comments. I love the fact that you consider reaching out to me when there are situations that you're pondering and you want that blind voice of reason. Because see, Gerald has no agenda. Should be just a reflection, just like your friends. Because your friends are nothing but a reflection of what's found inside you. Just a mirror. Birds of a feather flock together. But it should never be placed in a position where misery loves company. So I know I'm talking to somebody. Right now, you are standing in the midst of a crossroads and you trying to think things by way of your logic, but also with your heart. And you're being tested. You're also starting to see things that were hidden. I know this is going out to someone. A lot of things that were truths, unbeknownst to you, are starting to come from out of the shadows. It may have you feeling a certain kind of way, but just know this, no matter how it is revealed, just know that God's got something better for you. But also be vigilant, because guess what? The devil's work is never done. And there is a requirement and responsibility for your life. We must all do our work. What's at stake, especially you, my kings, is your last name, your legacy. And when you have taken your last breath, guess what? That will be the manuscript for those who will come from behind, that will come from behind your steps to be empowered, to be guided. So it's very important that the story that to be told is told correctly, because there is only one you. I say that from the bottom of my heart because I know that there's somebody, you trying so hard to put a ruse on every time you step outside that door, and you think that no one knows that you've got it together, but you hurting. You know it, your angels know it, the Most High know it, and you one step away from a breakdown. Well, let me throw this in a perspective so maybe you can have a clearer view. Maybe it's not just a bad thing. Sometimes when you allow things to break down, you'll also see that that was really a breakthrough. Maybe it might have been something that was found on your heart, and you have appeased yourself through a period of time, maybe years. But you realize each day, each breath, is getting a little bit more difficult. You may be feeling that you're being pulled in multiple directions, and all you want to do is stand still. You hear people say, just give me a second, give me a moment to be me. I know I'm talking to someone. But the reality is, to be you, that means they don't understand who you really are. But but the reflection is this: if they don't know who you are, they don't know your worth. And if they don't know your worth, why are they there? Or better yet, why are you keeping company with your distractions? We've all been there. What's at stake is your transparency. What's at stake is the ability to be vulnerable to yourself. So guess what? Maybe now is finally divinely placed through God's mercy. He's allowing the environments that are being shown to you for you to make a choice. Remember, God gives you two gifts the moment you took your first breath. The first breath was to unconditionally love yourself. The second was free will. So to truly understand free will, or the ability to choose, doesn't it make sense that you always protect yourself? And to protect yourself, you must see your worth. And to see your worth, that must come from within. So the real question should not be, do you know who you are? The real question should be, do you love yourself? Do you love yourself to be honest with yourself? And if you haven't been honest with yourself, you must look at and take accountability for the things that have distracted you from you. I think more importantly nowadays, y'all, we are starting to come to a place where truth feels like a double-edged sword. The things that were made of convenience really had a price. The price was time. And depending on where you are, some people interpret time as a commodity. Time is money. No one has time to waste it because you're not given the opportunity to see if you can get it back. Or better yet, you don't know if you're going to get any more. Just like that breath that's coming in and out of those precious lungs of yours. Just like the flow that's from your heart that stimulates your brain, which causes your organs to work and function. You're not promised that. Each time it happens is a blessing. Just ask the person yesterday that didn't see today. We see these examples all over the world. That's why it's been ever so real when you hear that scripture. What is a man to lose his soul? What is a man to inherit the earth by way of his soul? It means nothing. For those who've been following me, you know where I'm going with this. You remember, wasn't even a couple of videos I spoke about this. It doesn't matter what you have, where you've been, when you're laying in a sick bed. It doesn't matter who you know or what they can do for you when you're down and out. What matters is the little things. And I think a lot of you are starting to come to this realization because you understand it is those little things that meant a lot. How about a hello? How about the ability to say, I love me, I love you? But far too many times we have adapted a prideful spirit where goodbye has no weight. It has become consumable without merit. But yet we are surprised when the revelations of what once was in our possession is now made a memory. So, with that being said, I'm changing this up real quick because I love hearing from you guys. I hope you're doing all right. And as I try to echo, not to be winded, you got something going on with yourself. You need a second opinion on something. Drop me a line. Hopefully, it will inspire you to go and do the things you need to do. The two things I can offer you is this: truth and a prayer. Because if you're walking around in pain, in denial, in suffrage, you're doing yourself a disservice. You can't find joy in materialism, y'all. You can't find peace in shallowness, but you will find a whole lot of anarchy and confusion. And that is toxic. And that has become the underlining theme of what we know in our society. No accountability. So if there's no accountability, you can't have trust. Without trust, you can't have a foundation that lasts forever. Sure, temporary ones, they're built all the time. They're built on hopes and dreams, but they're riddled together by control, manipulation. That's not your walk. Never was. So does it surprise you that the things that disappoint you and the things that are shown to you play out the way they are? See, at the end of the day, y'all, we can turn around and find reasoning behind the things we see and feel. But one thing that cannot be disputed is truth. Truth is pure. It just depends on which side it is received. So someone dropped me a line and they asked me, where do I see, what do I see us as a community in the next 5 years? And I thought about it for a second, you know, and putting this out for you because you make time to reach out, and I love hearing from each other because today should be a day that should, if your smile's not on your face, you're doing a disservice. If you can't find your joy in your heart, you need to check your environment. Have the courage to deal with it. Now, where do I see us as a society headed? Number one, right off the bat, I see this. I see a spiritual line being drawn. I say that because of the fact that for the last decade or so, every year we have something be revealed or presented to society in a shock and awe display. You look at our means of communication via media. You can pick, it doesn't matter which genre, it doesn't matter the illustration, and it is eroding And I kind of felt this a long time ago, and I pray on it all the time, and I really believe that my parents, people that have children, people that are, even if you're not directly connected to your child, I really believe in the next 5 years, the things that we as a society have tried to shun, be vigilant on, protect when it comes to our children are going to be threatened. Now, Queen, I told you a long time ago, there's been a big old circle placed on you. Told you that a long time ago. Because the fact that you are blessed to be a woman, you're given divinely the gift of nurturement. That's why you'll inherit the right to be called mother. But you're not able to hold on to that foundation of that sacred name until you learn and nurture you. That is why so many of you have unfortunately had to learn the hard way. That's why I tell you, stop looking for your mate. Prepare for him. You want happiness? Fall back in love with yourself. Because each time you choose to take the shortcuts, you depreciate your life. That's why that fool, when you think about him, will never understand you because he doesn't understand himself. He's made a choice to embrace a personality and identity that meets validation socially. And he's miserable, and misery loves company. That's why people fall from grace, because they don't know who they are were before they were placed in the public eye. But more and more, I believe, are the generations to come. If you don't like the social standings of the current generation, I'm talking about 20 and below. If you don't like the social climate of what's going on now, you're going to be terrified 5 years from now. I'll tell you why. I read a survey beginning of this year. I wish I could pull it up. And I highly suggest that you do the work yourself. Educate yourself, because knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the bigger your perspective becomes. But it means nothing if you don't put God in front of you to protect you from the things that you cannot see, because demons are real, y'all. Things just do not just happen. They don't. There is a spiritual battle going on for your life. It is said that when the fool acknowledges there is a God, the earth shakes. What's been going on these last 4 years? Whole lot of natural stuff, right? You got flooding going on in places that don't see flooding. You see devastation occurring where devastation was never heard of. You're seeing disease and carnage where there should not be. These are all the signatures of revelations, all the makings of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all the definitions of last days. So what's at stake is your soul. Mhm. If this is your last day on life, do you really think that the size of your breasts or your buttocks look like will matter? I think not. I think not. But see, what's going on now, these things right here are causing us to not use this. You can't lose this. You gotta use that memory muscle. I To get to my point real quick, there was a survey based on spirituality, and they're saying now, 2016, 1 out of 3 children will not know who God is. It's pretty scary. So imagine 5 years from now. Imagine if you don't like what you're seeing now, imagine with the advancements of technology, because when you look at those smartphones, that's really archaic. That's really, yeah, that's dinosaur stuff compared to what they have coming out. From those who are into science and tech, you know what I'm talking about. This is nothing. It's historic. You might as well, it's a relic. But what's going on now is you're starting to see an empowerment going on. You're getting ready to see an undertone start to stand up. See, now we're in an environment where people are not afraid to speak their truth, even though their truth may be out of ignorance and hate. I'm a firm believer. Where love exists, you'll find God. You won't find God where there's hate, nor fear, nor calamity. Mm-mm. He doesn't exist there because it's not blessed, which goes back to that free will. So, happen to be on YouTube, and I don't know how I stumbled on it, but now with the LGBT community, you have other social groups that are saying, well, hey, if you acknowledge them, you need to acknowledge us. And now you've got, I didn't even know this, but there are groups that support pedophilia. There are groups that support bestiality. And that made me scratch my head because there's a lot of social commentary out there trying to sway your viewpoint, trying to get you to understand, well, if it don't hurt, what's so wrong about it? Don't you realize the devil wants to do everything he can to make that sacred scripture of words known as the Bible invalid? And I'm gonna tell you what, the devil's a liar, because he will always give you what you want, but he will never tell you the truth to say what it's gonna cost you. Oh, you like that man over there that's alluring to the eye, but you don't know he's a serial killer. He may have an infectious disease in him that will destroy your life. And the signatures are out there. You like that woman because of how she talks and how she moves? You move mountains so that she can destroy your financial wealth. How about leave you sterile? These people exist. This world is not about bubblegums and rainbows. There's a lot of spiritual stuff going on, y'all. Had a story here out in the area. Just yesterday, dude got locked up for assaulting two officers that tried to pretty much see what was going on, and he was claiming he had demons. That struck my nerve because the one thing I've learned about how demons move, they always set a platform that is salacious, that are tempting, and they need to use covert means for acceptance because what's at stake is free will. So the devil can't attack you unless you let him in. No different than a thief is not going to strike a location that is fortified. It's time, y'all, to fortify your spirits, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all, I've said this, I shared it with people who have reached out, and I'm just going to put this out here too. If you got a lot of negativity in your house, you got a lot of negativity in your environment, and you don't understand why there's so much drama going on, I'll tell you what you do. You go and go get you some white sage and you burn it. You burn it in every room, every window, every door sill. Two things are going to happen out of that. Those who have some type of angst about them, they ain't going to want to be there. And that's where the awareness comes, because it's going to let you see things that were hidden. The second thing that you have to do is you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable with your wounds. Let me tell you something. My kings, you walk around with burdens. You walk around with traumas. You walking around with disappointments. Don't you realize those same things are toxic and it is killing you from your spirit, eventually impacting your physical being? That's why when you see people you ain't seen in a while, they look all run down. What's been going on lately? What's been going on? And get enough sleep, are you? So I went to sleep I slept the whole day and I'm still tired. Or you try to lay down and your mind is not at rest. Well, if your mind's not at rest, guess what that does to your immune system? It wears it down. So if your mind's not right, your body's not right. If your mind doesn't have clarity, you're not going to make sound decisions. We are what we attract. But see, I understand because some of y'all feel a certain kind of way because I've actually had people tell me, and I want you to reach out to me so that I can make my channel the best it can be. I want for you to understand that, number one, everything that I convey comes from God, comes from the Holy Spirit by way of my discernment. My discernment is strong. Look, you ain't crazy. I know that's somebody right now. You are going through a metamorphosis right now, and you have tried to convey what's going on with your friends, and they lowball it. They don't get you. They don't understand. They just play it off because they say, well, you tripping. That's not you. And you know what? They're right. That isn't you, because the real you is demanding to be birthed out But you've got to be able to look at that fear. You know, fear. Finally, everything's a reality. And some of you, your reality, you're in hell. It feels like you can't wake up from a nightmare. Some of you have made soul contracts with people. What soul contracts ain't nothing but soul ties. And soul ties only live until they are fulfilled. But guess what? Doesn't matter if you've been running around kicking up dust, disrespecting yourself, or or disrespecting your name and legacy. Just know this. There's still one that is rooting for you. Actually, there's two. I'm one of them. The other one is God. It's your responsibility to fulfill your legacy. You have to do the work. So you're saying that because of your reality is, oh, because you're with them, your dreams go to the side, your desires of growth stay stagnant. You do realize you are the same person you were before they came into your life. And your spirit is not based off of status. But I'll tell you this, if it's not blessed, it will fall apart. It will fall apart. That's why I'm a firm believer. People come into your life as a lesson or a blessing. It just depends on the perception of how you see them and the position that you will stand to protect. You're worth it. There'll never be another you. And you know what? The people that really give a damn about you, yeah, your friends, you might not have never met them. You may have, and you didn't know who they were. Because that's what's going on with a lot of you now. And I say this out of love. A lot of y'all realize that you had a diamond unformed. And God has shown favor to your life for you to be able to see them transform. And you kicking yourself. You mad. That's nothing but pride. That's nothing but ego. And guess what that else is? Guess what else that is? That's fear. Because nothing, unless they have a gun to your head, keeps you from doing what you want to do. How about the things you need to do? Your responsibility, number one, is to make sure you're okay. That means, are you drinking your water? You need water to live. Are you taking your vitamins? How about eating correctly? The basic food groups, they made that for a reason. That might be the reason why your hair ain't growing the way you want it. I know I'm talking to someone. But I also know this. Your hair's not growing the way you want it because you're putting stuff in it and your DNA is saying no. When you start to love yourself, guess what? You're at peace. And when you're at peace, guess what happens? Your body grows. And you don't have permission of that. Excuse me, the devil's a liar. Unknown to me is unknown to you. So, what do I see us as a society, as a community? I believe a lot of people are going to start becoming aware. A lot of things that you thought that had value are going to be revealed as nothing but fool's gold and rock candy. They can't stand the test of time because it was based off of man's perceptions. I keep trying to explain to you, anything that is made with man's hands comes with a natural expiration date, because man will never be able to master forever. That's for God. And some people are going through a season where what was up is now down and you're humbled. You're going through a season where things are being broken from you. Friendships and bonds that you thought were forever are falling to the wayside. Why? Because you're not being punished, you're being protected. There was something about that person's spirit. They were nothing but a wolves in sheep's clothing. I know I'm talking to someone. But I do know this. When it's all said and done, when it's all said and done, you're going to have your validation. You're going to be like, I knew that. Some of y'all have actually seen it in your dreams and it shook you. Why? Let me tell you something. God is a custom tailored God. And because of that, hold on for a minute. I love those robocalls. I'm sorry. And I know that's the basis of your pain. But just know this, your spirit is more powerful than you ever could imagine. It has a natural force. That is, to some, your allure, your uniqueness, and as well known as your personality. So it's important that you protect it. So don't worry. If you feel that you have been knocked down, I say to you to get up. You might not be prepared to take your first step back to you. But while you are starting to knock the dust off, just assess your environment. Look at who is in it. Look at who is not. Find the commonality that why the bond was there. And you will start to see epiphanies and the reasoning behind it. See, anything that doesn't have love in it dies. And anything that is meant for your life, those doors will be open in the intended time. See, God is not going to give you something you can't withstand. But that devil he will throw the kitchen sink at you. And I know right now, some of y'all, you're trying to catch your breath. You done been through something. Some of y'all may have even questioned your mortality because of something that you were exposed to. You're saying to yourself, if I only knew that you would do me like that, I would have ran. It's deeper than that, y'all. What's at stake? Not only is your identity, the real you. See, the real you is perfect. If God wanted you to have it, he would have gave it to you. He didn't ask for you to make modifications. Why do you modificate perfection? Nobody's got your DNA. You got that. So it's required that you be healthy. Love yourself. So let's go back to what I was saying. You got a lot of people right now with their nose wide open and they think that they can just pop off their lips and say whatever and do whatever and do not think there is recourse behind it. But let me tell you something. If God's not in front of it, they're going to fall too. That's how it works. If you don't honor him, he can't honor you. You're his greatest creation. Queens, why do you think you hear the saying, God's gift to man? Because you are the wildflower. But guess what? You can have a room full of roses and be the carnation and be the one that's most treasured. I know I'm talking to someone. You don't want to be like her. You want to be like you. And if you've got him in his life and he says he wants you to be like her, then why don't you tell him, go on ahead and get her. But guess what? That may be your blessing. It'll be his lesson. But more importantly, the one that will treasure you, protect you, love you, inspire you. God will reveal them to you. But you got to do the work. You got to do the work. That means you got to be vulnerable to yourself. You got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive those who have hurt you unjustly. See, nothing happens by chance. Maybe some of y'all have witnessed and experienced a spiritual attack. Some of y'all have gone through some traumas that would take 10 lifetimes. But guess what? You still exist. That means you are required, and there is something very unique that you must do. Maybe you may inspire the next generation, or the generation's generation, or the generation prior to that, and it will be your words and your actions that will change the world. You ever thought about that? I love you too, Judge Judy, but not now. That's all I'm saying. Because what I see what's going on. First, long time ago, they did the division between church and state. They took prayer out of schools. And look at schools now. You send your children off to be educated, only to fear for their lives. No. They flood the streets with guns. But they want to use social control. They say, hey, it's okay. Get high. Reproduce. Do what you like. But don't give you the small print to let you know that those same brain cells, that precious mind is what's going to be needed down the road. Because they're trying to dumb you down. Don't you see it? They don't want you to value your life. Because the quicker you become impaired, you want less distraction to worry about. Come on now, think about it. There was a time where being socially and sexually active was a form of expression socially. And I remember they used to use the term, hey, when you have a mess up, just do the plan B. And you had to go to the hospital, get a doctor to sign off. Now you can get plan B in vending machines. The value for the life is going to dwindle. Do not see it. So guess what? What about your dreams? What about your legacy? So I would be very aware of your surroundings, because there are plenty of people that don't give a damn, and they're going to make it very obvious. You're already seeing it in the media. You're already hearing it in the music. You're already seeing it in the advertisement. Why? Because they want you to conform. So you have to make a choice. You're going to love you, or you're going to end up like them. Because even in Revelations, many were deceived. Just make sure you ain't one of them. Love yourself. I hope you have a blessed weekend. I love to hear from you. If you're feeling what I'm saying, hit me with a like. Or if there's someone going through something, share it. But more importantly, let me throw this on you before I go. Only you know what your burdens are. Only you know your regrets. Only you know your sorrows on this planet. If you feel that your life is on the edge of a ledge, why don't you go talk to somebody? If you got a job, you got insurance. Go talk to someone. Maybe they can give you validation that you're on the right path, or they can show you something new. I don't know. Maybe they can show you how beautiful you really are if you would just work through the pain. Because you ain't going to find a smile on the bottom of a bottle. You're not going to find safety in between someone's legs. You're not going to find peace of mind in a store. You only find that within. So there is a responsibility. It just depends on if and when you decide to claim you. Be blessed, y'all. Love to hear from you.